Hello everyone, this is CNB. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Pattankar, and with me is the Maruti Suzuki Kizashi. We promised you a more detailed look at this car on this week's show, so we're living up to that promise. Let me say right up front, what's going for the Kizashi, I think the biggest USP for this car are its looks. It looks really, really attractive, but we're going to try and figure out whether that price tag is justified on today's show. Let's get on with it. So I finally have the Kizashi. And the Indian market has it too. This is one car that has been talked about all through 2010 simply because it got attention as being the biggest Suzuki sedan ever and also a very good-looking one. It was also the obvious step for the car maker to take in a booming market like India. It was also built with a specific intent to break into sedan volumes in the United States and Western Europe, which means you know that it will sport high-quality materials and good performance. So, with so much riding on it, how could Suzuki go wrong, right? Well, the car has been reasonably well received in all the markets it has been launched in so far. Well, its time has certainly come, and the name Kizashi, the way it's written back here, very stylistic, and the looks of the car. I mentioned that's the big USP. Look at it. I mean, it looks sporty, nice big ample bumper. No mention of the name Maruti, of course, since this is an import. And the tail lamp, again, fairly contemporary looking. And look at this. It's almost like an inbuilt spoiler here as far as the boot lid is concerned. It's nice. It adds some definition to it. And this particular color, well, typically, you know, I'm not a crazy fan of white, but this particular car, I have to say, white is really working for it because it's a metallic white. It's got a lot of sort of character to it, satin sort of a finish. You probably can't pick that up on camera. The side of the car, well, it looks again that it's fairly spacious, so that works for it. There's a fair amount of muscle coming into it. And then we've seen all of this, right? I mean, we've seen the car on the show last week. I've shown it to you from the motor shows before as well, so I won't go into details. The hood, again, there's a little bit of a raised hood appearance here, throwing in a little extra muscle there. And if you come into the front, again, just the way the car looks from the front, it looks like it's ready for action. It's got a lot of flair in the wheel arches, a lot of muscle in the front bumper, and a fairly nice, attractive, large headlamp. Also this mesh grille in front with a big Suzuki logo, part of the new characteristic design language that you're getting from Suzuki. So looks wise, the car really works, but it's of course the drive that we're all interested in. So let's get it on the road now. The car's good looks are the big USP. Still, it's not radical the way the Honda Civic was when it was launched, so it will appeal to a wider cross-section of buyers then. Now, as promised, we get moving. The specs read well, and here is where the promise of performance comes through. The fact that it has a manual and a continuously variable transmission or a CVT as options are pluses in my book. It is a 6-speed manual transmission that you get with this car, and of course keyless entry, and it's the same little gimmick that works so well these days. The key hob, well, you don't really need to use the key, it's just a start-stop button that gets the car going. The overall look of this cabin, the plastics, just the way it's all put together, it's sporty, it's young, and it's very well put together. I have to say that this entire central console looks pretty neat. And of course there's lots of controls on the steering wheel as well. You've got cruise control that's standard. You've got the stereo settings up here as well that are standard, and pretty good. The overall plastics, nice tactile feel to everything. So that plus the fact that you have a little screen up here which gives you lots of information, lots of trip information as well, and outside information too in terms of temperature, etc. So really you've got everything that you really need. The seat, very comfortable. It is electrically adjustable. The only little problem I have is that for me, the optimal driving position, my knee keeps sort of impacting with a part of the dash, but that's a very individual thing, and I'm not going to hold it against the car. Now, as promised, the drive. So the manual which I'm driving today then is really ample. First impression, more than ample actually. It's also the ride feel, very plush and comfortable. It's really not what you expect from a Maruti Suzuki. The car feels so planted. It is really comfortable and really, really responsive. The overall feel of this engine, I mean, of course, it is more powerful than the other cars in its class, no doubt about it. And you can feel that power to the most obvious extent. Now, the CVT version is a little bit sluggish, but the manual, it's rocking. I mean, it's really, really nice. the gear shift is really smooth, like makhan, as they would say in Punjab. So it's really nice because you get really sort of satisfactory drive feel from this car. It is very planted, as I said. So while the handling is a little bit questionable at some of the higher speeds, for the most part, even the handling is pretty spot on, and it's just really smooth, and you get a nice burst of power as well right through. So I'm pretty happy with the drive part of it, and at least that seems to justify the price tag to some extent.